What's going on, everybody? Ike is back in the building. So, in case you all have been living under a rock, you'll know us Floridians got hit with Hurricane Ian. So, instead of shooting this at the desk inside, cooped up, I wanted to get some fresh air. I've kind of been getting cabin fever, so that's why we're outside. Everything you are seeing is going to be shot from the front facing camera on the Pixel 6 Pro. And what you guys are hearing in terms of the audio is actually going to be recorded using the Bluetooth mic feature where you can actually use the Bluetooth mic on your earbuds. I'm using the Pixel Buds Pro. So everything you're hearing is the mic from the Pixel Buds Pro. So definitely let me know. It is a little windy here, but I wanted to give it, like I said, a little test because I've never used this feature before. So kind of count this as my Pixel 6 Pro, 1 year later. Sorry for the few sniffles. I'm kind of fighting a cold too. So I want to go ahead and get into it. But I wanted to break this into about four categories, right? So I want to go ahead and talk design. I want to go ahead and talk software. I want to talk battery. And then last but not least, I want to go ahead and get into cameras. And I'm kind of just going to go the things that I liked about each of those subjects and then the cons, the things that I found to be a con for me in particular, right? And then there is an announcement that I do want to make. So I'll make that at the end. So definitely make sure that you watch this one to the very end. But let's go ahead and get into it. First things first, let's talk design. And right off the bat, I'll get into the pros, right? So biggest pro that I can talk about when it comes to the Pixels design is that it finally seems as though, sorry, itchy, scratchy eyes, it finally seems as though Google has a design language, especially with that visor on the back, but they have a design language that is truly and uniquely their own, right? In a actual like sea or field of Android smartphones that pretty much all look the same from the front, your main key indicator on if people know what phone you're using is going to be from the back, right? And I can tell you, and I'm pretty sure most people would agree with me, when you see that visor across the back, you know it's a Pixel. I frequently go to Disney, as most of my subscribers know. I'm an annual pass holder, so I'm there all the time. I can spot a Pixel from literally miles away because of that camera bar on the back. And I think, again, as Google's trying to really branch out and get more and more market share, that's going to be important for them to be able to differentiate themselves from everything else on the market. So kudos to Google. Good job on that. Now, I want to go ahead and get into not necessarily cons or whatever, but just some things that I would like to see, changed a little bit. So on the Pro model specifically, I would say the curves. Now, I'm someone who likes curved edges on my displays, but I don't want them to be quite as drastic. And the reason may not be for what you think. A lot of people go immediately to, accidental touches and things like that. Whereas for me, it all comes down to case fit, right? So when you have case manufacturers that have to compensate for, the super steep curves on a smartphone, their cases are made to feel a lot wider than they actually are, right? So some of the cases for the Pixel 6 Pro, they just feel a bit too wide and it makes the phone feel a bit too wide. So I hope that they can kind of, bring those down from rumors and what we're seeing. It looks like that is the case. So shout out to Google for that. But in terms of like, cons for design, that's the only real thing I can call out. I love every other aspect about the design of this particular phone, and it is, undoubtedly my favorite Pixel design to date. Next up, I want to go ahead and talk about software, right? And now this one is going to be a pretty big one because most of us know Pixels are known for their software. They kind of live and die by their software in all honesty. So let's go ahead and get into pros first. So right off the bat, I can say in terms of pros, the Google experience is, if not, I would say top two in terms of my favorite Android skins. Just because of a lot of the additional googly features, you get things like call screening, things like hold for me, direct my call, the feature that kind of shows you how long you're going to be waiting before you actually place a call, like to customer service. Things like that are never going to look sexy on a spec sheet. But those are a lot of the features that once you get a hold of those and you start to use them more and more and you see how they incorporate into your workflow or to your life, you kind of have a hard time letting them go, right? So, software, I think Google is doing an amazing job on what they're offering. And the more that they actually begin to incorporate more of those features and do more with Tensor and things like that on the software side, I think that they'll have a really strong contention, kind of like how Apple has iMessage and FaceTime. Like those are two software features, Apple people for the most part love and find a hard time giving up. Google, I think they're headed down that direction to really getting, an actual suite of software features that make it extremely difficult for you to leave a Pixel. And I think that that's okay. Having software exclusive stuff just makes us choose what devices we choose. If every smartphone had the exact same feature, well, then we as an industry would hit a plateau because everyone's doing the same exact thing. There's a reason why Samsung users choose Samsung smartphones, whether it's, the better multitasking than pretty much any other device on the market, except Surface Duo. But anyway, whether they choose a Pixel because of the fluid experience or the camera, or whether they choose an iOS device because of iMessage, FaceTime, or iPad OS or Mac OS, it's okay for each company to have their own software features. And I think Google is kind of, making their way to have those, different things in particular. So from a positive side, Google continue to bring those features, continue to do things like face unblur, continue to make your video better, right? All that kind of stuff on the software side. Now, what I want to really get into in terms of the cons has to be the launch, right? So when the Pixel 6 series launched, it had quite a few in terms of bugs. Now I'm not going to get into, what device has had more bugs, what device has had less bugs, and all. I'm just not going to do that, right? Every smartphone launch is going to have bugs. We should just know that at this point, right? But I think the difference and where I have to give, Apple praise or Apple props is how fast they're working to address these particular bugs. I always felt like with the Pixel, when I discovered a new bug or some type of limitation or something wrong, I had to wait for that next monthly security patch instead of like Apple, where they're like, you know what, we're pushing out iOS 16.0.1 to resolve this specific issue or whatever the case may be. So if Google can kind of get like that and stop focusing so much on those monthly security patches, now don't get me wrong, I do love the fact that we do get those monthly updates, but focus more on updating through the Play Store. Focus more on just quick updates to get things working the way that they should. I think that's going to be a huge difference in terms of, perception and how people are going to see your device when things don't go right. One of the things I learned in customer service was it's not about how things are going when everything's moving the way that it should be, right? What it's about is when things go wrong, how do you as a business handle when things go wrong? That is the definition of customer service, right? Whenever I see people comment or anything about a customer service or anything like that, they're not talking about how everything went great, everything went smooth right then and there. Generally, they're talking about when they had a particular issue and how that issue was solved, right? So when it comes to customer service and just like I said, making sure that Google is taking care of the stability of their devices, that's going to be the biggie for me personally. Just address those things a little bit faster. And I think that everybody would be more welcoming to the fact that there were bugs. Now, some of those bugs were attributed to Android 12, not to the Pixel itself. And some people couldn't really differentiate that, or I won't say couldn't, wouldn't differentiate that. But at the end of the day, Google, if you're having issues, that is okay. Getting these devices out is not an easy feat. So just make sure when you do have issues, you're, keeping that response. You're letting people know you're being transparent and work as fast as you can to get those bugs squashed out. Next up, I want to talk battery life. So, battery life has been generally good. The only real thing that I can say in terms of con would just be the inconsistency, right? It kind of seemed from update to update, it was something I had to monitor and like see, okay, am I gonna have a battery drain or is my device, doing what it should be doing and things like that. I've also had a ton of people tell me because I've actually been suffering from the latest battery drain issue. It seems to kind of have gotten a little bit better, but I still see it draining just a little bit fast. It is what it is at this point. I'm not gonna put my Pixel down, but I think ultimately a lot of what I'm hearing is, update to this beta, update to this beta, update to this beta. And I really want to make sure that, and this doesn't just go for Google, this goes for all manufacturers. I really want to get away from this mindset of install said beta to fix current bug, right? because as we as techies, we can go sign up for betas, and that's perfectly fine, right? But if my dad's having an issue with his brand new Pixel 6, I'm not going to tell him, go update to this beta and blah, 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 blah. He's not going to know what I'm talking about. So the whole update to this beta to fix this current issue you're having is just not a good look in my opinion, right? And this again, this is not just for Google. This is for all manufacturers because people have done it with the latest iPhones too. Update to iOS 16.1 or whatever to fix this particular launch issue bug. Like that, like that in my opinion is just not good enough, right? I know we're gonna have issues. I know we're gonna, have to give these things time to iron out and things like that. But ultimately, like I said, going back to the battery aspect, I just wish that the 6 series, like overall, as it aged and as it matured more and more, just got a little bit more consistent in terms of that battery. What I would love to see, and I know it's going to be extremely hard, I would love to see 13 Pro Max battery life on a Pixel 7 or Pixel 7 Pro. Like that would be astounding. And I feel like the only company who really can do that and deliver that, besides Apple, is Google because they control that entire experience. They control the chip. They control the software. So I really want to see Google take that step. Now, I know it's not going to be an overnight thing, right? Because Apple didn't do it overnight. iPhones historically have had really bad battery life, right? But they were able to do it. So hopefully, I'm hoping that Google can do the exact same thing and really wow us with the battery life going forward. So that's what I got to say about battery. Generally speaking, it's fine. I can make it through a full day. Now I really want Google to wow us with the type of battery that they can deliver. And the last thing I want to go ahead and talk about has to be the cameras. Now, I still think Google, at least here in the States, and I think even outside the States, if I'm being 100% honest, I'm a little biased because I love my pixel processing, but I still feel as though Google is cream of the crop king of just pull it out your pocket, shoot your shot, done, put it back in your pocket, right? From things like the actual output, the HDR, the shutter speed, like these are terms that we've known Google to absolutely kill it in for the absolute longest at this point. I think Google's always been phenomenal at doing that. Now, when it comes to things that I really want to see improved, right? Things that I really want to see improved, I gotta say number one, ultra wide, ultra wide, ultra wide, ultra wide. Any phone that Google's ever had an ultra wide on, I'm not sure if no, I want to say Pixel 5 was the first ultra wide that we ever got on a Pixel phone. It's just not wide enough, Google. Like you can literally take that same, lens and sensor. I hope you update it, but y'all can literally take the same lens and sensor and just give us a wider field of view on it, and I would be perfectly content and perfectly happy with that. Again, I would love to see them update the ultra wide, but like I said, if I'm being realistic, I would 100% be okay with them, keeping what they currently have and just making it a little bit wider. Next up is the jarring kind of switching when you're going between, zero point 0.5, which is their ultra wide. I don't know if it's zero point 0.5, but zero point 0.5 from the ultra wide to 4x or from 1x to 4x. Anytime you're switching to that 4x lens, you kind of get this pause and then snap into place, right? And I want to see them get it to be just a bit more seamless, something like what the iPhone has when you're switching between lenses. It's just far smoother and far more seamless. Like it honestly feels like you're literally using one camera and it's just zooming in and out. It doesn't feel like you're really switching between those different lenses. And in all honesty, I would love to see, the Pixel get to that particular level, right? Where it's like you're switching between these different focal lengths and your user, can't even really determine that they're switching between physical components in the phone. It's just seamless, right? So I would ask that they, do work on that. And then next and last would have to be the time it takes for night sight photos. Now, this one, I don't understand, what Google's kind of doing with it at all. But the GN1 sensor that the Pixel 6 Pro, is using is so good at gathering light, so good at getting that extra information and detail. I don't understand why, Google's still making you take, 4 to 5 to 6 seconds to take these nighttime photos. Let that GN1 sensor really flex what it's capable of. Let it really flex what it's capable of and let it really show off what it's capable of, right? There's so many times where I'm in like a nighttime setting and I literally just turn off that little automatic night sight button because I don't need it. The GN1 does a phenomenal job at gathering light. Then you throw on Google's processing, and it looks phenomenal. So Google, lean on that hardware just a little bit more, right? And I think that honestly, you wouldn't have any issues in terms of night sight, right? Also, when you're trying to hold the camera still and you're getting like these little micro jutters and stutters and things like that, you're getting that because you're trying to hold still. That's going to cause blur, into a lot of your shots. So, like I said, Google, those are the three things in terms of the camera. Now, the camera experience overall, yes, this includes video as well. In my opinion, it is definitely above average. It's definitely great. I don't hear a lot of, reviewers talk about, Pixel video just because the Pixel hasn't been known for good video. But with a lot of the recent updates that they've done to the camera app, Pixel video is phenomenal. You can see the front facing video right here. It looks great. And I'll even throw in some rear facing video that I've captured as well. That way you all can see that. It looks phenomenal. It looks great. Google's doing a really good job. I even was watching a tweet from Zone of Tech where he actually was showing some of the comparisons between the the Pixel 6 Pro and the new iPhone 14 Pro, and it was showing some of the video samples between the two. And I actually prefer some of the Pixel. Now, the Pixel didn't beat the iPhone overall in video, right? I don't think anybody expects that or anybody thinks that that's going to happen. But the fact that the Pixel was actually, able to really hold its own, and it was able to still put up a good fight and really show what Google's been doing over these past few updates. I think is what makes all the difference, and it just made me all the more excited for them to bring out Tensor 2, which is going to see a boost on the GPU side and the ISP and all that stuff. So we should have better video, but all in all, I think the camera experience on the Pixel is still phenomenal. When you look at the pillars of what makes a camera great, in my opinion, which is just a camera you can take out of your pocket, take a shot or take a video, and then just put it away and not have to worry about it anymore. So kudos to Google. Shout out to them for doing a great job in terms of their camera. I hope that they keep up the great work in terms of their camera with both photos and video. So that's all I really have to say in regards to Google with the camera and the video on the Pixel. All right, so those were the four kind of areas that I wanted to touch on when it came to the current Pixel 6 series and kind of more specifically the Pixel 6 Pro. And just some of the cons that I would like to see them, kind of change and update and things like that. I think the best way for me to sum up my experience with this particular device is a tweet that, my kind of self-proclaimed mentor Jay Will, for those that don't know, and I'm sure if you're watching this, you know who Jay Will is. It was one of the tweets that he put out, and it kind of rings true. He asked, "What device are you using when you're not, reviewing any new, tech products? What device do you find yourself going back to? You know, what device is kind of your go-to in that regard?" And in all honesty, mine's, continues to be and kind of has been since I got it, the Pixel 6 Pro. So, like I said, shout out to Google for all the things that they did right now. Don't rest on your laurels because there is still a ton of work to do, right? But Google, I gotta say that this is definitely a great start and a great paradigm shift. So keep up the good work. Can't wait to see what you all announce on, October the 6th. And I guess now for the kind of announcements, but yes, it is happening. Your boy was invited to Team Pixel. So shout out to Team Pixel for the invite. I am, you know, glad and completely astounded that I even got the opportunity. I think that there's a ton more deserving creators, than myself. But again, thank you so much for the opportunity. I truly appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Can't wait to work with you all to not just test out the latest and greatest from Google, because of course everybody likes that, but to give you real 100% honest truth feedback on what I'm experiencing with these type of devices. At the end of the day, all I want is for these tech products to get better, and the only way that they get better is if we as tech enthusiasts continue to keep advocating for the regular consumer and talking about the things that could be done better, right? I get that there's physics involved with a lot of this stuff that these manufacturers are trying to beat, but overall, you gotta at least say something. So shout out again to you, Team Pixel. Thanks again for the opportunity. Can't wait to get started and working with you all. To everybody else, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button for more coverage on not just the Pixel, but with a ton of different devices. As always, this is Ike's Tech Talk. I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace.